Hey Laura, this is Winter. I was just wanting to show you kind of how Portraitpro works. This is one of the images we worked on last night, but this Portraitpro is specifically for portraits. I know you shoot a lot of portraits, but it has a plug-in, so if you go up under Files and you go to Anthropics and Portraitpro, let me say this, it will depend on which version you got. I have the Studio Max, which comes with a plug-in for Photoshop. I think the original version doesn't. It's a standalone program, but if you get the Portraitpro, it does come with a plug-in. They also have one that's called Body Pro, and it allows you to morph bodies like slim arms and things like that. Let me close this because I have this open separately. Okay. So as you can tell, it went ahead and it found him. It says he's a male, and it found all of his features here. I want to switch over to her because that's really where I feel like you're going to see it. It didn't recognize her because of the tilt of her head, but it'll say click on nose, and I can click on her nose and her chin, and it will find her. This is part of their new AI technology that makes it a little bit faster, and then it's going to ask if she's a female, male, or child under 12, and female's already selected, so it can already tell that she is a female. It's going to be... Okay, and when you pull it up, it's already got some modifications done. You can adjust these, like her slider on her lip right here. I don't know if you can see it real well. I'll try to zoom in on her a little bit better. But you can see the lines outside, so I can pull it down some. And like this one, I want kind of like more in her curve of her eyebrow. This one is basically just making sure your sliders are correct. Like, it doesn't recognize that this isn't her face, so I would pull this in to the line on her face. Just like this. And that's just going to help this program work better. So the main thing is making sure that you have it lined up. And it's already got some things settled on here, like it's already sculpted her face a little bit, but I will just show you kind of how this works. Let me zoom out just a little bit more. So if I pull the slider over, you can tell it starts swimming her face. It can widen her eyes. We don't want them that big, but you can widen her eyes, and you can even adjust the hair volume. And I have to say is, for me, I like to adjust the hair volume a little bit. It makes her hair look a little bit fuller, and it just seems to work a little better. You can adjust their head and bring it forward, which helps. If you notice, it helps taper that chin area some. And you can even do that with the neck, and it helps bring their head up. And it'll adjust all of these things for you. You can adjust the mouth shape, so it changes the shape a little bit. It has skin smoothing techniques, which is a lot of times I'll tell you, like, I adjusted like under their eyes because they had dark circles up under their eyes, and you can tell it's already done some. So if I take these all back down, I can kind of show you. This is her eyes originally, and as I start pulling, it starts pulling some of the black up under her eyes out, or the dark circles that you'll see. You can adjust the shadows and pores. You can sharpen the skin if you wanted to sharpen it, which we don't. You can do that. You can trim her eyebrows if you wanted to do that. And then this one is really neat. And sometimes this is very useful because you can adjust where the light is hitting their face. So if I can actually stretch this so more light's on her face, I can move it to an angle on either side of her face and just make it where I want the light, not necessarily where the light was taken in the picture. You can add shadows. So if I wanted to add a shadow back to this left side of her face, I could do that, or even to the right side of her face, I can do that. They have one that's modeling, and it changes the lighting to give it a more modeled look. It has one for smoky eyes if you want their eyes a little more smoky. One that creates actually a shadow. It looks like right at the bottom of their lip that gives them more of a pout. And then it even has skin color to adjust their skin color if you want to do that. You can give them more of a tan. If I wanted to make her a little more tan. But if you drop the slider down, it's got all these different selections for the type of skin color you want, or you can just leave that part off. And the wonderful thing about this is there's something you don't like, you can always just touch the power button at each one and see which one affected it. So you know which one to adjust, which one it's in. So then they have makeup. And this does things like lipstick, so you can change their lipstick color. Like, she's not really wearing any lipstick, but if I wanted her to have lipstick, I can pick a color for her. I can even pick a texture if I wanted a gloss or a matte. You know, I can change that. And I can change how intense it is just based on where the slider's at. The next thing is like mascara. I can turn the mascara all the way up, and we'll zoom in so you can kind of see a little better. And I can even do false lashes. And you can adjust these. Like, I noticed on hers yesterday there was like a gap here in between her lashes, and she was probably wearing false lashes that day. But there's a gap between like her eye and the lashes. But I can actually nudge these down to kind of fill that gap if I wanted to. I'm going to turn that off. But you can adjust the eyeshadow. You can actually pick a color for their eyeshadow. And I can pick any color I want. And I can make it either a matte, a shimmer, or a semi-matte. So if I wanted to do like a shimmer. And I can even choose the shape of how I wanted that eyeshadow to be. There's also one for lower eyeshadow, which is going to be like right underneath the lower lashes. Let me make this a green too. Well, I'll make this a purple so you can kind of see this a little better. And I can change the shape of it too, which we wouldn't do that in a picture, but I'm doing bright colors so that you can kind of see how this affects it. Or you can just leave that off and not mess with it. That's the wonderful thing about this. It gives you the option to really go in and do these things the way you want it. It has blusher, so you can add, if they need a little blush, like they look pale and washed out in their picture, you can add some, and you have the option of color. So if you pull the sliders down, it's darker colors. If you go to the right, it's lighter colors. So if you wanted, you could pick something like right in between and then turn the blusher up. And you even have shapes where you can choose like what kind of shape she has to her face to make it the most appealing for her face. There's also a bronzer that does the same thing. You can pick the color, you can pick the style if you want like an extreme dimension, which we would probably never do, but if you wanted one that had an extreme dimension, you could. And you can even adjust the color, so if you wanted to go a little bit lighter so she wouldn't look as dark, you could do that. But it gives more of a sculpted look to their face. Then there's one that's a highlighter. It creates highlights to their face. I'll zoom out a little bit better so you can see that. So you can just kind of tell. We would never make it look white, but you can kind of tell where it's at. Take that off. We're going to take our bronzer and our blush off. There's an eyebrow pencil, and this is good for like, I know even me, I do my eyebrows sometimes and they just don't look the way I want them to look, or they never show up in pictures the way I think they do. So you can go through and actually darken or lighten. You can change the color to whatever color you wanted, and do their eyebrows, or go ahead and fill those eyebrows in some so they don't look as sparse. And then the next section is going to be eyes. Let me turn this section off because I don't want to keep any of that. And then this does things like clean the eyes, whiten the eyes. You can adjust the iris color, which if I do this with hers, because she's got those contacts in, it's going to look very unnatural. But you can tell that they're getting brighter. But a lot of times, people with darker colored eyes, I tend to use this because it's kind of like we were talking about one day. I was telling you how when I photograph black people, I have a hard time getting their eyes in color. Like I feel like there's no color to their eyes, and sometimes just a little bit of touch of this will bring a little lightness to their eyes. That helps. And you can change the eye color. You can change the intensity. You can even change and put a contact lens. So if I wanted her eyes brown, I could do that, or a hazel or something like this. I just got to make sure that her eyes are being completely covered, you know, so that it looks right. And I can change the scale of how big the contacts are. You know, if I wanted them to be really green or even an amber or something like that, I could even do that. You can add an eyelid to give them more of a, like for people with double eyelids and hooded eyes, that's what they call it, not double eyelids, but hooded eyes. You can remove the reflection from their eyes, and you can even add your own. So if they didn't have one like this eye on the left on her doesn't have one, I could even go in and add one. And I can change the opacity of it to make it look a little more natural. And I can do all kinds of shapes, sizes. And it even puts it, you know, in different places based on which one you choose. And this can help to make your eyes look more natural if you have somebody that, like, a catch light didn't hit. And I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and then we have the mouth and the nose. And the mouth and nose is like you can change the lip saturation. You can darken their lips, the contrast of their lips, so just their lips are being affected. You can sharpen their mouth, do a nose contrast. So this is affecting like the openings of her nose. If you watch, it gets darker or lighter. So if you had somebody that didn't show up real well, you could make it a little darker. You can moisten her lips a little more. And even change the lip hue, which we don't want to do that. And then you have hair, and hair is really cool. And this is the way, you can do this with skin too, but you go to view and edit hair mask, and you just make sure that all of her hair is selected. So I can go out, and I just want to make sure that all of her hair is actually selected in this, and it looks like it did a pretty good job. I do see a place like here that's not hair, so we want to take those off, and like off of her hand. There's a little place there. I'm going to take my brush size down and kind of brush that in. And the way that this does is we can recolor her hair if we wanted it like a different color. And it'll look more natural if you stick close to the same color they have. So if they have blonde and you want to change it like a different color blonde, it's going to look more natural. But you can literally change their colors of their hair just about to anything. But it's going to look better if it's closer to a hair color that they already have. And you can choose the intensity of how much it recolors too. So if we wanted her hair a little more white, a little less golden, we could do that. You can do a fill light and how much you want that to fill and shine, how much you want her hair to shine. Contrast, vibrance, saturation, temperature, tint, and even sharpen her hair. And then there's this hair tightening mode. I'll show you it right quick. And this is like filling the shadows of her hair. and smoothing her hair. If you go all the way to this side, it's going to look more like a painting and less like hair. And kind of zoom in so you can see. It still has the flyaways, but you're losing a lot of your texture in your hair, so you don't ever want to go that far. Push OK. And that's the hair mode. And then you have picture, and this adjusts the whole picture. So you can adjust like your exposure of your picture, or fill shadows and temperature, saturation, that type of stuff. You can even make your picture like black and white. Do a vignette, those type of things. Auto levels. And then you have layers. And what this does is, like, I could change the background. Let's do. Let's see. I think I hit the wrong one. Adjust background. I can blur it. This is new. This is the newest version, so this is a little bit newer than the one that I had. I just got it today. So this is new where you can blur it. But you can mask this, and that's what I really wanted to show you. So let's do a mask. So, and it does it pretty much for itself. You can see that it's pretty good, but if you need to, let's actually just paint over that. We didn't want to paint over that. And this is a little bit easier than doing a mask like in Photoshop, because you remember all the time we spent doing that yesterday. It's a little faster. I just want to make sure that I've got him all in this mask. And I can adjust my brush size. I'm just trying to show you real quick, so I'm not worried too much about that. And I think I've got a little right here on his arm. There we go. Okay, so that's our background mask right there. So I can change the background image to add a background image. Let's see if I can show you this. So it's going to say select image, and it has its own built-in images on some of these. So say if we wanted to do something like, let's do this one. And it allows me to do that. And I can actually change the opacity of this a little if I wanted, so it's not as bright. Or I can leave it up like this. And I can push OK. And that's what the photo will look like. So if I take this back, and go back to Photoshop, I'll show you what it looks like in Photoshop. And I haven't done a whole lot. I was really just playing so that I could kind of let you see how the software itself works. It's very quick and easy. It even has presets if you don't want to do a lot of the adjusting yourself. There are presets. And see, I can see this here because I left the opacity down some, and I should have actually pulled that up. But as a quick fix, that's not bad. I can even go back in and adjust it some more if I need to. But I hope this kind of helps you understand how Portrait Professional works. And well, sometimes like I'll go through it and we'll do a picture and then I'll send it back and I'll be like, oh, here I adjusted her face a little bit, or I adjusted this a little bit. It does really kind of help. If you have any questions, just let me know.